I like to call in Micheal Cooke. Micheal, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning to everyone across the Tasman. It's great to be with you this morning.
It's great to have you, Micheal, talking to us from New Zealand on behalf of Creation Ministries. And I actually want to talk to you about what's happening with Gen Zs, that there's appeared to be a silent revival going on. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happening and why it's happening?
Well, it's really interesting. It's across the world. As you know, probably 10, 15 years ago, the new atheists had the airwaves, people like Richard Dawkins with the God delusion, and there's a lot of high-profile atheists saying that there is no purpose, we just evolved and there's no meaning and so on. And that basically they've almost disappeared now, and we're finding the new generation is coming on especially, but across the board people are now seeking spiritual reality. So it's increasingly encouraging to see, even in the Western world, that a number of young people especially are seeking out spiritual reality and coming back to church. And so they are a lot more open maybe than some of the older generations have been over the last 15, 20 years. So it's called the Quiet Revival, and it's been noted in many Western countries, including Australia and New Zealand.
So what is the paradigm shift that is happening here? Why are so many Gen Zs, are you a Gen Z, Lawson?
Yeah.
I'm
a Gen Z.
Yeah. So these are young adults here in between their 20s and
it's I would say
18s and 25s, university age,
18 to 26, that kind of
generation
around there. Yeah.
So
that's right.
what's changing in the paradigm from, let's say, the millennials or the previous generations to cause them to be more open to Christianity than before?
I think it's a really good question. I think a lot of the reasons. One is that perhaps I'm just at the very last year of baby boomers, it puts me in that bracket. But the evolutionary teaching, the scientists were seen to be held up as impeccable, knowing everything. And over time, increasingly with modern genetics and social media and all the things we have, the internet, and people are able to search, increasingly they're finding that maybe the old model of evolution and atheism doesn't stack up. But also they're realizing that atheism gives them no identity, no purpose, no hope, no future. It's really just blind, pitiless indifference. And no one can really live consistently or happily with a life that has no hope or purpose. And so they're really wanting to have something more than just, physics and chemistry and chance. So they are rejecting the standard atheistic model and looking for something that's deeper than that, more meaning. And even though the church has been maligned, a lot of people are saying, many churches, Christianity has made a huge difference in history, and so they're now a lot more open maybe than slightly older generations were.
That is very interesting. So, one question that I have is the Generation Zs, they are looking, hey, look, if we take these atheistic beliefs seriously, basically the logical conclusion is that there is, it's not a life even worth living for. So they need to find they're in search for purpose, they're in search for meaning. But my question is just a search for purpose for the sake of purpose? So if they're basically saying, look, whatever purpose you can give me, I'm taking, or is it a deeper truth saying, look, I actually want to know what is God's actual plan for me as it is in the Bible? What's your take on that? What have you been reading about it and observing?
I think, it's basically initially just a hunger, that obviously just this life, is this all there is? There must be something more than that. But then, of course, that we've been told for years that it's all about me, self-actualization, the whole educational hierarchy ends up with me being what I want to be. I can identify to be this, or I want to do that. I can follow my heart, follow my dreams, and you realize that ultimately if the world revolves around me, it's fairly empty and limited. So I think they are looking for something outside themselves, a supernatural higher power, I guess. But then they start to look at what makes more sense. So yes, some go into New Age and other ideas and so on, but increasingly a rational faith, Christianity, with what we're seeing now in social media and on the internet, people can look and get questions answered and say, oh, this actually makes sense, when we look at the world around us. Okay, that makes sense. So they start to look towards wanting more purpose in their life through someone who's there to love them and support them, but also more meaning and a hope for the future. So I think it's multiple paths, whether it's an intellectual interest, a spiritual hunger, and then those things come together. as God, the Holy Spirit, He draws them in. So it's a spiritual transaction with an intellectual component.
And Micheal, do you think that artificial intelligence or AI, do you think that it has a role to play in that discovery journey?
I think it does, and I was really pleased that you mentioned before our meeting. I'm involved in IT. I'm a software developer working in environmental monitoring systems, so I know about AI and so on. We use it ourselves, but the interview that I think Answers in Genesis had with Grok 4, which is a new super bot, Elon Musk's company, and unfettered from biases and so on, it came up with the conclusion that intelligent design was very, very cogent. So I think AI as a tool is neutral. It can be used for incredible good, incredible blessing, but it can also be used for incredible evil and deception. So it's just a neutral tool. So it's exciting and concerning, but it's a new world. Things are changing so fast, aren't they?
Very fast. But one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of people who perhaps were afraid of asking certain questions or afraid of being judged. When you're asking AI, I think that barrier is broken down and they can basically engage and interact in the realm of ideas. And particularly when they ask AI to be, hey, just let's be unbiased here and just like look at the honest facts and so on, what's going on. And this Grok 4 model, I think, was very interesting. And I actually want to recommend that video to our radio friends. Yeah. Have you seen this one? So this is by Calvin Smith. And he's having this conversation with Grok 4. And Grok 4 is the latest supermodel, and the difference between Grok 4 and the other ones. Well, can you tell us a little bit why Grok 4 is a big deal to start with, Micheal? Have you read something or know about it?
Yes, I have. Yes, so there's the major ones like ChatGPT is very famous, and we use Microsoft stuff, so Copilot is more an AI to assist with things as these large language models. But Grok 4 is a little bit unique in that it has a much higher level of, I guess, personability to it. It has a sort of like an interactive face and so on, so that it's been intelligently created, I guess, to be very interactive and a lot more personable than some of these other ones, which are very powerful, but they're more text-based and so on. So this is more interactive. And as you say, it seems Elon Musk is an interesting character, very, very clever. And I think his push, his profile and so on has made this perhaps slightly different than the other AI models out there. And it's developing very, very quickly with Grok 4 coming out recently. So there's been billions of dollars put into this technology. I've seen the video you mentioned. It's really encouraging, and I would recommend too. Answers in Genesis is a very like-minded ministry aligned with us, and we get on really well. Our scientists work together, and Calvin Smith's the guy I know very well. And so I really recommend your listeners follow that up. Answers in Genesis Grok 4 and see the video.
Absolutely, it's definitely a great thing to watch. And one of the cool thing about Grok 4 is that it has rated very, very high in what they call the Humanity Last exam, which is like very, very, like some of the most difficult questions humanity knows, and it scored superbly well. So basically for you to score fairly well or well in that, you have to be like a leading PhD researcher in that particular field. And basically across all fields, Grok did pretty well, this Grok 4. So basically it has reached what you can call superhuman intelligence, because not one human being could be just as good. And what it happens is, what I was reading there, Micheal, is that what Grok does different is that when you give him a very tough very tough question to tackle, it engages multiple AI agents to look at that question, and then these agents are discussing between themselves and comparing their answers and seeing, okay, which one is the actual the best answer. And then after they've reached that kind of AI consensus, that's when they spit out the results to the user, which is quite a innovative approach to these large language models.
Oh, it is. It's amazing. One of the things too, which is not so much a concern, but with so much AI generated content on the internet, that can end up feeding back into models, thereby skewing things. But certainly these things are now being understood and addressed, and so you can hopefully what they're learning on is actually good, cogent, repeatable evidence from the internet. And as you say, by collaborating between different models, it can really start to get some serious power.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, is this good for us? I think this is the big question that people are asking. I've seen a number of articles pop up recently, like, hey, this Grok and supercomputers and doing all these things, but is this ultimately is this good for us? Does this help humanity in any way? Some people are suggesting that we're actually decreasing our brain capacity and our ability to be able to work out things because of our reliance on AI models like ChatGPT and whatnot. Although it's impressive feats of engineering, is this actually helping the human race?
Well, that's a hugely important question. I agree. And one of the things is, of course, how deep fakes can occur either in video, audio, or still images and so on. And so people need to really, I guess, you need to press into base our lives on scripture and see what does the Bible say, because it's easy to be taken in. I mean, so I think it's a good point. Is it good for us? Increasingly, it can really innovate, like even Bible translations and medical advances can really be boosted in an amazingly positive way. But the ability to deceive large amounts of people is also very real as well. I'm talking about articles on our website, creation.com. Your listeners would like to go to creation.com, look up AI. We've got some really good articles on AI, including one written by a New Zealand science graduate, and it looks at the whole AI idea, what it means, and is it good or bad, and gives some great examples. So it's a very worthwhile, easy to read, comprehensive article about AI and how we should address it as Christians.
That's very good. Yeah, of course, this is a topic that we want to be engaging with. Even the new Pope, this is actually at the top of his agenda, to engage. How do we engage with AI? So this is certainly something that we're all trying to figure out. I do not know if you've seen this one, Michael and Lawson, but ChatGPT came up with a new mode called study mode.
Oh.
So basically when you click that study mode, instead of giving you answers, it actually is helping you how to think the problem.
Okay.
But you have to turn it on and off.
That's useful.
But that's useful because I guess it's kind of like a car, right? Are cars good for humanity, or did they make us lazy? Yes, surely we are walking way less. But I guess I think that in the future, because we are, I do not know how much time we still have on this earth before all of the end time events happen. But I guess that you have to probably, because we have these computers that are more powerful than a human brain, we just need to be able to use that creatively and also exercise our brains, kind of like how we go to the gym this day and age instead of being out in the garden and to get the exercise that needs to be done. But it's definitely something tricky and challenging to navigate. And Michael, can you tell us, what else would you recommend that our radio friend can engage with or look any other interesting thing in that space of creation that has come to your attention?
Well, I think again, it's exciting to live in this day and age. As you know, so much now is more accessible to us. So the old days of having to go to a library or listen to professors or go to textbooks, now we have so much at our fingertips, and we find more and more as science digs deeper, especially into genetics and into paleontology and to sedimentation and all the earth sciences and so on. We see so much evidence that's pointing to the historical account as outlined in the Bible just makes so much sense. And we do a lot of talks about how it's not about faith versus science. The old model was, you have your faith, your belief in your imaginary friend and your book of myths and so on. If that gives you comfort, that's great, but I've got evolution as a fact, evolution as science, But now we point out, no, the evidence is never disputed. What we have in our hands, the fossils, the rock layers, the chemical isotopes, nobody disputes those. It's the history behind them is where the dispute is. So both creation and evolution are historical accounts. They cannot be tested or disproven or proven scientifically. And people are understanding that now. Okay, so which account of history makes more sense when we look at the world around us? We see it from the dinosaur soft tissue to genetics and all these things. The Bible's account points to it being true.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you so much for your participation today. We are looking forward to talk to you again next time